Alright, you ready? Whoa! Yes! Hey, welcome to my shop. Today we are rust bluing a shotgun barrel. So there's a couple different ways to go about it. One way is to use a solution like this one here, Pilkington's American Slow Rust Bluing Solution. The other way is to use a different method to produce the rust, which is my preference, and that is fume bluing. So to do fume bluing, there's a few things that you're going to need. You're going to need some nitric oxide, some muriatic acid, distilled water or rainwater, SOS pads, rubber gloves, a fume bluing box, and a piece of 4-inch PVC pipe that's capped on one end and then is in a stand so it'll stay standing upright like this one is. So let's jump into it. First thing you're going to need to do is get your barrel that you're going to rust blue. In this case, it's a Stevens Model 240 410 over-under shotgun. I'm going to have to first get this one all polished up and degreased, and once I have that, I'll be ready to produce the rust on the barrel. So to produce the rust is going to use everything that I just talked about, and stick around and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, it's been a lot of preparation getting this barrel ready, but it is degreased, it's polished, and it's ready to go. Ouch, it's hot because I just took it out of the boiling water. I don't know how good of a view you can get of it, but it's polished up pretty good. Tends to be too much light shining on it. Ow, it's so hot. So anyhow, so it is ready to go into the fume box. Hot. I'm just going to hang it back up here. So polished it really well. I ended up bead blasting it with glass, so glass beads, and what I have in my glass cabinet it has been used a lot, so it's pretty fine. You don't always have to do it. I didn't do it on the last shotgun I did. This time, as I was cleaning it up, it just seemed like there's a little bit of pitting in certain areas, so I glass beaded it, and I think it helped me get the barrel moving in a pretty good direction as far as smoothing it out. So after I did that, then put it in the vise and sanded, wet sanded, starting with about a 240 grit. I went up to 1,000. I don't know if the 1,000 was really doing that much, but anyhow, wet sanded it best I could, and then looked down the barrel to see that there's not any uneven marks. So looking up at a light like this to see is it smooth. And the first time I did it, I could see some areas where it needed to be sanded down again. There's nothing more annoying than looking down your gun barrel and just seeing poor workmanship going down it. So anyhow, something else that you want to do is do that, looking at a light, just making sure that there's not any uneven marks going down the barrel. So now it's time to put it in a fume box, and to do that, you want to plug the barrels for a 410, these little earpieces, you know, these are the perfect size. So I'll put one of these in each barrel because I don't want to rust the inside of the barrel. So I'm going to plug the barrel on both ends. I'm going to take and put in this glass jar. I'm not going to do it right here because I'm near all my tools, but I'm probably going to put, how many mLs is that? Probably 2 mLs, maybe not even that much, maybe 1 mL of nitric acid, and half that amount, whatever amount I end up going with, I'm going to do half that amount of the muriatic acid. It really does not take very much at all. You'll want to have a respirator on or some sort of mask, or at least just don't be looking over it like this when you do it. I tend to grab it, put my few drops in there, put my other drops in there, and then it sets right into the bottom of the fume cabinet. And then I hang my barrel just like it is now. I got little hooks in my cabinet. I hang that, I close it. Tonight I'm not going to set it outside, but I'm going to put it in the opposite corner of the garage to where all my tools and everything else is. And I'll leave it there overnight. Tomorrow morning I'll come out. It'll probably have a beautiful red coat of rust. Usually you wouldn't talk about rust being beautiful, but when you're rust bluing, a nice even red coat of rust is beautiful. And then I'm going to take that, boil some water, and put that in the boiling water, and it's going to turn that red rust to black oxide. And then we'll card that off and do it probably 15 to 20 times, just depending. And then after it gets to the blue I'm looking for, we'll oil it so that it stops the rusting process. Let it soak in with a good heavy coat of oil or even linseed oil to stop the rusting process. Clean that off, wash it up again, oil it with some gun oil, and it'll be ready to go. And then I still have to do that with all the small parts, but just for tonight, I'm getting the barrel started. All right, here we go. Got some boiling water right off the stove. I used to do this where I had a big tank that I would put on the stove and have it boiling, and then boil the rusted parts that way. But I have found, one, it's easier not to have it boiling, but on the stove, taking all that space. But if I just take some boiling water, put it in my PVC pipe here, and then, like I said last night, when I first started this, it's been, let's see, I put it in last night. It's probably been, I don't know, 16 hours in the fume box. See a really nice coat of red rust on there. This is the process. Take that, drop this right down in my boiling hot water. Got a little hook there on the side so it can just hang in there. Just leave it set, let it sit there for as long as it takes. I'm currently working, so I'll probably leave it in there for 30 minutes, go do some other work that I have to do, and then come back, pull it out, and then that's where I'm going to use SOS pads to wash it off in the sink with rubber gloves on, and then start the process over again. So that's my setup. All right, so it's been about maybe 30 minutes, maybe, right around there. It's sitting in the hot water. Look at that beautiful black oxide. That is just the first coat. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this cool for a bit so I can handle it. We'll put rubber gloves on. I'm going to take it into my sink and use a SOS pad while there's water running over it, so I'm not breathing in any of the dust. And I'm going to wash it really good and get that coat of black oxide off of there. If you watch any of the videos online, they'll show using a carding wheel going around your on a drill press to go through and knock the dust off of it, knock that black oxide off. I don't have one of those, and I didn't want to buy one. Because the other option you can do is to use steel wool that's been degreased, and I used to do it that way. But man, there's some really tough particles you're breathing in, so you pretty much need to wear some sort of face covering to keep from breathing all that in. So I found that what works great for me is SOS pads in a sink with some water on. Wash that all off. I'm not breathing in anything, and I'm getting all the black oxide off, and then it's ready to go back in the fume box. All right, so just cleaned it off after the first round, and let me tell you, this came out beautiful. I say came out. It still have many more rounds of rust bluing this. Originally, I think I said it would probably take 15 to 20. Based on how much color that accepted on the first try, it's probably going to be more like 10. But anyhow, even when you think you've got it good enough, because especially when you're new at this, you'll get one like this and you might think you're done. You're not done. Keep going. A lot of times you're tempted to just want to oil it up and see how beautiful it looks after you put some oil on it. Just keep going. You want to get that rust bluing to go as deep as you possibly can. Each time you do a round, it's going to take a little bit more color, and each time it's going to rust a little bit less. So that first one's the best. You get that nice heavy coat of red rust on there, but the next ones won't be like that, but there will be something. So you just want to keep going and going, doing as many as you can. I like to start on the barrel because I want to do several rounds with it. I still have some parts to clean up, so I can take my time doing those parts. Some of those may need to be rust blued. They're a little easier to do. But anyhow, don't give up. Even if you get a really good first run like this, continue doing the process so you can get it looking even better. All right, today's the second round of rust bluing on this shotgun barrel here. Just want to show you the difference. All right, so yesterday there was quite the red coat of rust, and then today you can see it. You don't get that same red coat like you do when the metal's bare. So either way, there's still a very nice coat of rust on here. It might be hard to see. You see it's a little bit red, but nothing like it is on that first day. So this is the second round. Going into the hot water. I just poured boiling hot water in there. Let it set for a half hour or so. Clean it up. Put it right back into the fume box. It's been about 26 hours, maybe something like that. Right about a day. So once a day is what typically happens. So anyhow, I won't bore you with every time I do this, but I want you to see the difference between the first fume blue and the second. So all the ones after this will pretty much look like that, maybe even a little bit less, to where you start wondering, is it even rusting? And it is. It's just because if you were to feel it, it'd feel a little bit rough. And you definitely notice when you go to wash it off. Even when it doesn't look like it has, you go to wash it, lots of black comes off of it. So that's the process. All right, so for rust bluing, I've showed you how I do my barrel, doing the fume bluing. This is how I do small parts. So like my triggers, my action brake. This one has exposed hammers for this Stevens Model 240 that I'm doing. You can put them in the fume box. In fact, I do set this in the fume box just like the barrel. So the barrel's hanging in a fume box, got a little glass dish with a few drops, I think I do about 6 drops of nitric acid and 3 drops of muriatic acid, somewhere in that range, but it's a 2-to-1 mixture, nitric more than the muriatic. And then I do the same thing in a smaller jar so that these are closer, and they'll rust faster, so you have to check them. And I need to get this away from my tools because it will start rusting, but I wanted to show you what I'm doing here. So I stole my wife's glass vase, got a bunch of little hooks, and you can see this is the second round. Last night I did a coat on these, or I did the process last night, so it's been about, I don't know, 15 hours. These rust faster than the barrel does hanging in the bigger fume box. So much more compact here. So you don't want the parts hanging too close to the bottom, because you'll find that they'll start corroding really fast. So you want to have some distance in it. I find that this tends to work okay. I wouldn't want them hanging any lower than that little piece I have there, and it seals up mostly tight. But anyhow, so that's a good way to do it. And then I'm getting ready I got water boiling now. I'm about to boil these and clean them up to start them on their next round, and same with the barrel. All right, we've come to the end of the rust bluing project. You can see here this set of barrels came out fantastic. What you're looking at on here is boiled linseed oil. Put this on here for just on some of the big parts like this, to stop the rusting. Put it on here, hang this up, let it set overnight, and then tomorrow I'll clean this off with some paper towels, and then put a coat of gun oil on it. The thing you want to watch for with the boiled linseed oil, and the reason I don't use it on certain parts where there's any area that it can get in there that I can't get to later, is once it starts drying, it starts gumming up. It becomes very thick and tacky, and that's not what you're wanting in gun parts. That's usually what you're trying to keep your gun parts clean of. So something like a barrel, no problem. It's all surface area. But anything else, I I would probably just use a different good oil that you don't have to worry about it getting thicker over time, because after a while it'll become like glue. So that's my advice. I learned it the hard way. That's it. Hopefully you see how pretty that is. So tomorrow I'll clean all this off, put a coat of gun oil on it, and start the reassembly. Boy, that is a nice looking barrel. So, thanks for watching.